Hi folks, Happy New Year. This is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. And tonight, all yell is God is me. I'm it. I'm the show. So various ones were unavailable and it's me. So fans of some of the other associates, you'll have to just roll with me tonight if you want to be on the show. So I had one comment to make about Christmas, and then I have 5 rather lengthy questions that I'm going to address. And I don't know, I need something for my back. I don't know if I'm going to have a whole lot of time for other questions, but maybe we will. So feel free to send questions in. I've got some help here with somebody who can give me the questions, but I'm not going to get to those for a little while. I'm going to address 5 longer questions came in over the long break. We didn't meet the last 2 Tuesdays due to the holidays. So I have a lot of really good questions and I hope really good answers. If you hear that noise in the background, it's Zara drinking from a bowl extremely loudly. The story I had about Christmas is my son told me that he almost, he and a friend of his, and they're pretty successful young fellows, and his friend's dad is a big Dallas Cowboy fan, as am I. I'm the biggest Dallas Cowboy fan, I think, on the planet, perhaps, and a Romosexual. But they come this close to buying Super Bowl tickets on the very good chance that the Cowboys are going to be in the Super Bowl. But they decided at the last minute to not get Super Bowl tickets for their dads. And instead, my son bought me what's called a squatty potty. I don't know if anybody's heard of those. They're basically these little footstools that you sit on the toilet, you get a better angle. I don't want to talk about it. It wasn't exactly on par with Super Bowl tickets. Okay. Number one question is from a woman from the UK. Somebody says, hi, Mark. Is that Soren? Hi, Soren. I can't really see. Somebody says they like me the best. I like that somebody likes me the best. You might be the only one who likes me the best, but that's cool. Maybe I can see. Oh, I can't see the comments. Could you do my phone? Maybe I can peep at the comments. Kinder from the UK. At the end of her email to me, she said, "Isn't it striking how strangers from strange shores can connect with each other?" Isn't that cool? That in this journey of recovery from narcissistic abuse, whether you're from Denmark, which is the next question, or whether you're from Colombia, which is one of the other questions, or whether you're from Carmel, Indiana, we're all people. And our experiences are very much the same. So I thought it was poetic when Kinder said, "Isn't it striking how strangers from strange shores connect?" Thank you. I can see the comments now. Narcissistic Registry says the squatty potty rocks. I guess you get a better angle for relief somehow. Okay, so here's the email that I got from Kinder. Dear Mark, I hope that you are okay. You know, some of the folks that saw my earlier videos and saw me sort of clinging to life by a thread and having this dark cloud of, shattering over me, they sometimes are, dude, are you all right? I've been watching a few of your videos, and a lot of what you mentioned I deeply connected with. The commercial for the Squatty Potty is hilarious. Thanks for sharing. Narcissistic Registry. I'm 46 old, and my mother and my sister had my sister 25 years later. And if that's a shock, I'll give you another shock. I have a brother who's 17, and my younger brother is 14. She's 46, and she has a brother who's 14. That's weird. As you have done, Mark, I too became the single parent to all my three younger siblings. My parents are still married to each other, and they're all from the same father. One time I recall that I had wet hair, and I could not remove the shampoo from my hair because when my mom needed to be picked up, or when my sister needed to be picked up from the place, I had to move right away on demand. Kinder, I relate to that. When my narcissistic mother drove up in front of our house in Kokomo in her burnt orange Dodge Coronet, she would beep the horn, and you better come running, or there was going to be a rage fest and you were going to get really emotionally wounded. Kinder writes, I only started learning about narcissistic abuse over a year ago, and it was a real shock to me. Her mother told her the day that I gave birth to you was the worst day of my life. And those were haunting words. I went to university and no one attended my graduation ceremony. Kinder, Happy New Year, Chris Rapture. I relate to when you share about parents really not being very involved in university. I think my parents visited me once in my 4 years of undergraduate, maybe twice counting graduate. They actually did come to graduation. But I understand what it's like to be a lost child. I learned that it was not normal to be alone on graduation day. I graduated a few times, and I got used to the non-attendance by my mother. My narcissistic mother actually burned my university degrees, and that was very painful. I guess it was too painful for her to watch my success. She wanted me to be the stupid little girl that she wanted me to remember that I was the stupid little girl. Gosh, Mark, I really am learning even more and more each day. I've always given much more of me than I've ever had returned. There's a definition of codependency. I've always given much more of me than I've ever had returned. It is still early days for me. I'm coming to terms with things, and once I learned things, I started to take control back. It is very empowering, I have to say. It is hurtful. I don't want, now Polly's drinking real loud. I don't want to overload you. So here she's fearful that she's going to overload me because I'm fragile, I guess. But I was wondering, is it over when your parents die? I'm processing things in my mind, and I hope to carry out a funeral before they are physically dead. I'm just laying it out there because if I ever said this out loud, I do not think anyone would ever choose to be my friend. Uh, hey, you know what? It's okay to say that. It's okay to think that. And we all want to be your friend. Do reply if you wish in your own time. Please know that I hear you. Isn't it striking how strangers from strange shores connect? Okay, so here is my reply to Kinder. The first thing is her mother burned her university degrees. Oh my God, that is just so horrifically rude and abusive. So the question was, are our issues with narcissistic abuse, is it over when our parents die? And of course, y'all know what I'm going to say. Absolutely, positively, not so much. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a little thirsty. Hold on a second. If you choose to never date again and never have any romantic relationships, if you choose to never have any close friends, and if you choose to be self-employed and not interact with anybody at work, perhaps you won't have to experience narcissistic abuse again as you reenact it in your adult life. But that isn't going to happen for most of us. I have this saying, I'm working with, through the years with 40-something women, and they've been involved with a narcissist, and they swear to me, they say, Mark, I'm done. I'm never going to be with a man again. I'm retiring dating. And I tell them, dude, if I had $1.25 for every 40-something woman who told me she was done and never going to date again, who ended up not only dating but remarrying, I would have a mansion on the beach. So, unfortunately, if your parents die, that really doesn't it fixes your direct issues with them, but it doesn't heal you. My mother died on August the 6th of 1996. My father died in 2003. But I didn't really get down to the business of working on and resolving my issues with the abandonment and the abuse of my mother and the abandonment of my father until I reenacted a shattering all the way in 2015 when I was 55 years old. So, Kinder, bad news for you. Your parents may die soon, and you're, what'd you say, 42? 46, whatever you said, and you're going to run into narcissistic people. You're going to attract them to give you an opportunity to work on your unresolved issues from your childhood. So I wish I could give you brighter, happier news and say mom and dad die and your issues are over. It just isn't the truth. So you'll need to continue to work on yourself, to get healthier, to individuate, to not be codependent, to recognize scary ass narcissists, and to protect yourself from them. Do you have any cough drop thingies? Okay, let me look at what people are talking about. Somebody's talking about Renda, Jerry, and Jennifer's videos are all erased. And can you tell us what happened? I can't really say anything about that right now. Just know that they will resurface in another form probably down the road, but due to circumstances beyond my control, we're having to make some changes around here. I love Jerry very much. I've known him since I was 17 years old. I think he's brilliant. I love Renda, and I think she's brilliant. But I'm sorry that their videos are not available just right now. But I suspect that they will make some efforts to make them available to you in another form down the road. I'm sorry I can't say more, but that's all I got. So, yummy cough drop. Okay, so Clara from Denmark. Here's what she wrote. So I like to say some of these are sort of long. Hang with me. There's some really good questions, and I think I got some really good. I actually thought ahead and prepared some feedback. So, all right, Clara from Denmark. My question or topic is about setting boundaries in friendships. Most of your videos are about romantic relationships. That's true. Personally, I also have problems setting boundaries in romantic relationships, but somehow always found it easier than friendships because I could just break up with that person or pick a fight with the person you were dating. But friendships were harder. I've never had that many friends. I have had a few friendships that are healthy and more respectful, but with my two closest friends, the two people I would hang around with the most in my everyday life, I can see how I definitely recreated some unhealthy dynamics from my family of origin. They both used to borrow a lot of money from me and never really paid me back due to my poor boundaries. I think one of them was well-meaning and just under-functioning. Hey, they can see Mr. Pauly. What's up? Mr. Pauly, say hi to Mr. Pauly. Well, that's Mr. Pauly's butt, maybe, but where was I? Because I could tell that she felt bad, the under-functioning lady. The other one, I have to be honest, I always envied her a lot. Not going to lie. There has been jealousy on my part. She is very attractive to almost all men, and I was always just the ugly friend tagging along, it felt like to me. I used to be very codependent with her. I always went along with the music she liked, the movies she liked. For instance, we never listened to the music I liked because she wasn't into pop music. But also with the money. Not only did she borrow money and not pay it back, she's been mooching. She accidentally wrote smooching off of me. And she wrote me back and corrected it. She was mooching off of me for a lot of years. Every time we would hang out, I would pay for everything. Dinners, snacks, candy, marijuana. We used to smoke a lot. And she would often, it seems like people should chip in for the marijuana. Anyway, she would often sleep over, so breakfast and lunch was on me. I always envied how guys would treat her. They'd buy her gifts and be totally into her. But I've realized that I have never had to envy her. I'm her only female friend, and she's been mooching on most of the guys she's dated. The same way she did with me. I'm just the only one she kept around, sort of in a way that they had to take care of her, a place to stay, and someone to pay for all the food she wanted. After some recovery work, maybe 4 or 5 years, I've been better at setting boundaries with her. I think now she gets that we pay for each other's individual share. But I still feel used, and I still feel a lot of resentment toward her. She doesn't live in the same city anymore, but when she's here, she always calls me up and wants to hang out, which always fills me with anxiety, and I can never really make up my mind if I really want to hang out with her and share personal stuff. I still can't set boundaries when it comes to the amount of time we are going to spend together. I always fear that she wants to spend the night at my place and I will somehow end up paying for everything. I always get confused because I know I have my issues. I'm not comfortable with intimacy or being close to someone. So I can never figure out if there's something wrong with me or with her. I hope my letter is not too filled with victim mentality. That was normal in my family, but I struggle with this so much because of the anxiety and the guilt in the friendship. So I didn't feel like there was really any victim mentality, Clara, in your email. So Martha says, oh my God, where are Jerry's videos? I'm freaking out. I feel you. There's again, reasons beyond my control, and I'll let Jerry down the road communicate that to you. My heart is broken that Jerry and Renda aren't on our channel now, but I wish I could say more, but it's a long story, and there certainly wasn't a falling out between me and Jerry and Renda at all. So, okay, my response to Clara, and that is healthy anger comes in little chunks, and healthy anger is meant to bother you. When I'm feeling stepped on by somebody, and I'm going to try to draw what that looks like. This isn't enmeshment. This is when somebody, this is you and somebody stepped on your foot. They stepped on your sense of self. They violated some boundaries. So somebody really hooked up to their belly. They feel this energy in little chunks. And so if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm feeling anger towards somebody, I make a mental note that it's time for them to have a come to Jesus meeting with me. So I set up a meeting, and first of all, what I do is I listen to them, and I hear them out until they're done talking. Stephen Covey said, if you want to be understood, seek first to understand the other person. So then I set boundaries with them, and I confront them rather rigorously. And I give them the impression that I'm probably not the person they should have stepped on. And I share with them the pain that is rightfully theirs for making the mistake of stepping on me. So, many years ago in our practice, I came across some really good boundary setting material. It's called Raising Capable People by a fellow named Stephen Glenn. Stephen with a PH, Glenn with two N's. He's since passed away. Amazing book about raising children, but it applies to raising husbands too, training husbands, really training everyone. It's really about setting boundaries. And so I shared this book with all the therapists in the practice. I shared the book, Raising Capable People, with all the clients in the practice. And the people who were more counterdependent or more controlling, they read the book, understood the book, and could do what the book said. The codependents read the book, understood the book, but they still couldn't do it because they didn't have enough fire in their bellies to go to war and to set boundaries with people. So my response to Clara is, first of all, she has just more work to do on her codependency recovery, and she needs to get some fire in her belly. And when she spends time with this friend, first thing she needs to do is sit her down and have a little come to Jesus meeting. A boundary isn't an understanding that most people would have. A boundary is communicated ahead of time. A boundary, you can share it very pleasantly and very non-reactively. And a boundary always has spelled out consequences that have sharp teeth if necessary. So you can have a boundary with sort of an initial consequence, and then you can have an additional consequence if they violate the boundary with sharper teeth. So if you haven't spoken it clearly and communicated ahead of time, pleasantly and non-reactively, with consequences with teeth, you haven't set a boundary. Boundaries work every single time. You're going to win every time if you set a boundary, because they're either going to pay the consequence or they're going to respect your boundary, one or the other. So, Clara, you need to sit your friend down and you need to be authentic. And you need to not focus so much on what she's done wrong. You need to focus and share how you feel. You need to be vulnerable with your feelings and share your feelings about the money and about feeling used. And set some boundaries with her that you're no longer going to pay for everything. Now, there is a verse in Proverbs that says, do not strongly rebuke a mocker, lest they hate you. So sometimes when you get healthy and you have unhealthy friends, and then you communicate assertively with those friends, they're not having it. They're mockers. To me, a mocker is somebody who's a know-it-all, somebody who's defensive, somebody who's too well defended, somebody who's reactive. So, Clara, if you sit your friend down and you pleasantly and vulnerably tell her what your new boundaries are and what your feelings are, and she gets reactive and goes into a rage, you got to fire your friend. She's got to go. Done. Bye-bye. If she struggles a little bit, maybe you're able to talk it through, and then you can train her to respect your boundaries. But the problem, Clara, as you probably know, isn't really about your friend. It's about your codependency, and you just need to feel the anger, communicate the boundaries ahead of time, be authentic, and be assertive. The problem with our work as counselors It says, do not strongly rebuke a mocker lest they hate you. That's our job. People come in and they see us and they're asking for feedback. And so, frankly, we do an assessment and then we punch them in their face in a good way. We tell them the truth, and 80% of the people go, thanks, I needed that. And 10 to 20% of the people, they're not big fans. They get ouchy and get mad at us. So I'm going to peek over here at the comments. Y'all are talking back and forth, Heebie-Jeebie and Diana and Yolanda and Manu. So awesome. I hope I'm not rambling on too much, but I love the feedback that you guys are giving to each other, and I think it's wonderful. So keep doing that. I have 3 more long questions. If you guys wanted to start sending in some questions, because I'm going to run out of material here in, what time is it? Where's the clock at? I don't see a clock behind me. Oh, there's one. What time is it? 9 o'clock? Okay, so we got another hour. Okay, I'm going to run out of material in about a half an hour. So if you have some questions, then send them in. This is from a woman named Kelly. Kelly said, I watched your video on the 15 ways I defeated my narcissist. Mr. Pauly's putting on a show back there. Get out of the way. I'm a victim of narcissistic abuse, and I also have PTSD. I've been silenced and emotionally destroyed. It makes me want to cry. I know what that feels like. I want to be heard concerning the abuse. The covert narcissist abused me with the help of his covert narcissistic psychologist. This guy is a high-level narc with lots of power. Actually, they're both like that, the ex and the narcissistic psychologist. I want to expose the psychologist for the damage he has done to me. I don't want any other human being harmed through this. You mentioned you did a Google review on the practice that was harmful to you. I feel like they both have my hands tied behind my back. Could you tell me how I can do a review and the legal wording? Thank you, Kelly. So let me respond to that. I really resonated, Kelly, with the damage that can be done by unenlightened rescuing psychologists. They don't have to be narcissists. They can just be ignorant. And I can understand you wanting to expose the psychologists for the damage that they've done to you. There's a part in us that we're tired of being powerless. And that was the point of that video that I made, 15 ways that I defeated my narcissist, to say, we're a fierce people and we're not to be trifled with. And while we don't need to be reactive, we can be assertive. And if you get in touch with your healthy anger, then people will leave with an emotional bruise. Funny thing, you talked about this person was a high-end narcissist. I've been told by my last go around with a narcissist that I was an elderly, low-end, borderline narcissist. I don't know how I got to be low-end or elderly or borderline or narcissist. I think she was 0 for 4, but I got tickled by that. I can understand, Kelly, you wanting to protect other people. Now, I was able to make a Google review on the Bridge to Recovery because I attended there. I had services through them. I went there for a week in February of 2015, and I met with the director, Kim Iverson, related to the treatment of my former fiancée, Betsy. So I was, since I was a patient and I was somewhat involved in, I made the referral to the practice, I could pretty much have a voice and say what my experience was. Now, if you've never been a patient of this psychologist, I don't think that you can give a Google review if you've never had his services. He indirectly harmed you. Now, if you worked with him directly and he was your psychologist, you can say whatever you want. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to be held liable for giving legal advice. But the world has changed to where you can make reviews on anything. We have Angie's List here in Indianapolis, and people come in for counseling, and we usually get A's. We've got the most reviews by far of any practice in Indianapolis, but sometimes people give us B's or C's or D's or F's, and it's usually not, frankly, bad work, but people have power to make reviews, and whether it's Yelp or a Google review, or the world has changed where a negative comment or two can affect a business really strongly. So I'm sorry, Kelly, that I can't help you with the legal wording. If you were a patient of this person and it felt like he violated you, just tell your truth, be respectful, but don't pull any punches and just tell the truth. If you never were treated by him, I'm not sure that you can do it. So, okay. Y'all are still chatting with each other, and that's cool by me. I don't know if anybody's listening, but okay, now I have Patty. I don't know where Patty's from, but Patty, we'll call her Patty from Cincinnati because it rhymes. So Patty says, hello, Mark. Sorry for the delay in responding. So many holiday emails are hard to find. The real ones from the ads. I'm okay with any way you want to address this question. I would like to know when it is on or called so I have the opportunity to hear it. Sorry, Patty, I didn't call you. It's on right now. But there'll be a recording of it, so you can, somebody's listening. There'll be a recording of it, Patty, and you can watch this and hopefully be helped. Just for a little backbone, I'm hoping for myself. A year ago, my husband of 22 years announced that he had not been happy for a while and he was leaving. His car was packed and then he was gone. I was so sucker punched. This is a second marriage for both of us. I have 2 adult daughters from an 11-year marriage where my first husband did the exact same thing. Both did the get new clothes, lose a lot of weight, excessive exercise. Later on, you found out they're having an affair thing. My second husband is drinking heavily, spending lots of money on trips for himself and the new friend. I filed for divorce in August, but he's dragging it out. This is a surprise to me. You would think he'd want to get it over with. There's a question here somewhere. I'm getting to it. Yes, I would say I have abandonment issues. Yes, I had a mother with narcissistic tendencies. More a spoiled only child than cruel. I have felt safer in the shadows. My question still, does the narcissist just stop pretending during midlife? Or is midlife crisis a different form of a personality disorder? Let me read that again. Does the narcissist just stop pretending in midlife? Or is a midlife crisis a different form of personality disorder? So she says, one thing I know, I will not get involved with another Capricorn who's in sales. Thank you for responding. Merry Christmas, Patty. Okay, so here's the response that I have for Patty. Any questions from anybody whatsoever at all over there? I'm going to need some questions, y'all. Help me out. Mark, I had a question. How do you balance? Could you write that one down? She's writing it down. All right, we're going to. Thank you, Hebe Jeebies. No more. Appreciate it. Okay, so here's my response to Patty. Does the narcissist just stop pretending at midlife, or is the midlife crisis a different form of personality disorder? I got to say, I'm really not a big fan of the phrase midlife crisis because it conjures up a middle-aged guy buying a sports car, getting hair implants, and getting a younger girlfriend. And I think what happens in midlife is life conspires to tear down your psychological defense mechanisms. So, first of all, there is no cookie cutter narcissist. All narcissists do this. All narcissists do that. There's different severities and degrees of narcissism. To me, there certainly are some strong patterns, but every case is different. So romantic love is designed to tear down psychological defense mechanisms. So I think a narcissist in their 20s and 30s, for the most part, are very well psychologically defended. But you get a narcissist, you get anybody into their 40s and 50s, and a normal person, their psychological defense mechanisms are going to be worn down by marriage or blown up by unhealthy dating relationships. A narcissist will tenaciously cling to their mask. They will keep their mask on. But I can share my own experience. Thank you. And that is my borderline fiance had a really good mask going, had me totally confused and totally fooled. But there's this saying, hell hath no fury like a narcissist exposed. And as she lit me on fire and narcissistically abused the ever-living hell out of me, I did share back some pain with her and pretty well completely removed her mask publicly. So to answer your question, midlife is a time for psychological walls to come down, it's almost always caused by romantic love, and narcissists are no different than anybody else. They're going to go to war in their relationships, and they're going to get bloodied. They're going to have their walls come down. They're going to have their masks ripped off. They probably have stronger masks and defense mechanisms than the rest of us. But that's been my experience. When we are shattered, if we are strong enough to share some of our pain with them, then their mask gets ripped off. So I wasn't trying to be vindictive in my situation with Betsy. I just was in so much trauma and so much wounding and so much hurt and so much shock. And I communicated with her assertively and sometimes reactively, and her mask was exposed. So, okay, heebie-jeebie. I'm going to get to your question. I've got another long one from my man Dan from Colombia, and we're going to see, Dan, if we have yours is long, and we're going to see if we have a chance to get through yours. But first, we're going to chit-chat with heebie-jeebie and Zero Sister. But what if that mask slips? Then watch out. How do you balance complex PTS symptoms when trying to figure out how to get back in the workforce? I feel you, heebie-jeebie. I was on the phone today with a guy from Maryland, and he was shattered, and he didn't function very well, and he lost his job. And so many people out there, the end result of the narcissistic abuse is they do not function well, and you can lose your job. I didn't get any dinner. I'm going to enjoy a cheese stick. Sorry about that, but I'm really hungry. So, heebie-jeebie, I just encourage you to be patient with yourself and gracious with yourself, and do all the things that we know that can enhance your recovery process. Do meditation, do yoga, exercise regularly, get enough sleep, eat well, do talk therapy, hopefully be able to do some EMDR work if you have the resources for that. But it's really, really hard to recover from complex PTSD and to be at the top of your game. Right after my shattering, I barely was functioning. I could see one client, and then I'd need a 2-hour nap. And then I couldn't do my men's group because I had to leave by 6:30 or 7, go home, go to bed. And now I got here at 8 o'clock today, and I've been in meetings ever since. And I got all the energy in the world because this work is really fascinating. So practice self-care, work hard on your recovery, find out as much as you can about recovery from complex PTSD, read Pete Walker's book on the subject, put one foot in front of another, do your very best. You may start out at a job that isn't all that great, but just keeping on and having faith. It's all about having faith and believing in yourself. I've gone through some recent adversity, but I keep coming back to, dudes, I know who I am. I know who I am, and I know my heart, and I know my gift, and I can't be shaken by a little bit of adversity. One of the cool things about going through narcissistic abuse is you go through that, everything else is a piece of cake. You know, I'm going through a little bit of something right now, and it's nothing compared to narcissistic abuse. When you've been through hell and back 500 times, even big deals in life are a piece of cake. Okay, zero sister. I don't know what these questions say, so I hope I don't screw them up. But here we go. What do you believe about people who claim to have paranormal experiences? Some narcissistic counselors say they are people who want attention. Zero sister, I gotta tell you, I don't know very much about paranormal experiences, and I really don't know what you're talking about. I do believe in the spiritual world, but I'm sorry I can't really help you on that question. Sorry about that. That's all I got. Okay, Soren, my man. How do I deal with being indecisive? I'm in therapy and I'm becoming regulated, but I still struggle with making decisions. Even finding meaning in general, many parts of me want different things. What are your thoughts, Soren? Okay, so Soren, if you haven't already done so, I want to encourage you to read a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. And it's a book written specifically for men on the topic of male codependency. And being indecisive is a result of sort of not being connected to yourself, not having a fully developed sense of self. So as you develop your sense of self, I have this belief that if you're really in touch with your heart, you're always in the right place at the right time with the right people for the right reasons. But if you're indecisive, you very well might end up in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people for the wrong reasons, and that really sucks. That's really, really sucks. So continue to work on your development of your sense of self, my brother, and read the book No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover, and you will make progress in your recovery, and you'll be a decision-making machine. All right, Scott, my 8-year-old son came home last night from a 9-day vacation with his mother narcissist. He was sad some last night, but functioned well and was happy today at school. He's doing well tonight and is happy. My question is, based on how he misses his mom, he misses her and wants to spend time with her, but don't the narcissists emotionally and psychologically abuse children? What should I be watching for? This is sort of a complicated question. I don't know what the dynamic is between your ex-wife and your son. And I don't know if he's a little caretaker who misses her because he's under her spell and is being manipulated and used and damaged. Or here's a concept that I want to share with people, and I've taken a little bit of criticism for this. In my video about the movie Allied with Brad Pitt, about a German spy, I forget what the name of the video is. It's fairly recent. I don't think I named it after the movie. I forget what that title is. But I made a recent video and I basically said I think there's gray area, and I don't think it's somebody's a 100% total narcissist from the pits of hell, or they're not. I believe you can be 30% narcissistic, 50% narcissistic, 70% narcissistic. I was in my basement over the weekend and I was looking through some records and I found a journal written by my former fiance. And I didn't know what I would find there because I thought maybe she'd be writing about her boyfriend and how cool he was. But in the journal, which she never ever thought I would find or read, I just found it. I wasn't looking for it. She wrote over and over again that she loved me and she missed me desperately. This was several years ago. So, would I say she was a pretty horrific borderline? Yes. But was she capable of a little bit of love at one time? I believe yes. So I'm not sure about your son's mother, whether she's capable of giving your son a little bit of love, or if it's an unhealthy, sick relationship. What should you be looking for? Depression, just sort of an expression of healthy neediness on his part versus rescuing, and just the general development and self-esteem of your child. Okay, so this is from Paisley Sansone. Sansone is a name I'm familiar with. Is there any relation to children with ADD growing up with narcissistic parents? I believe yes. There was a famous study done on alcoholism back in the day, and the vast majority of children in school who were on Ritalin had alcoholic parents, especially if it was the youngest child. The youngest child, they tend to be like a reservoir of anxiety because nobody tells them anything. We got to protect the youngest kid, but they can feel the anxiety and they act out the anxiety. And when they act out the anxiety, the school counselors want to hit them with medication to chill the kid out so that they'll sit in their seats and pay attention. So, yes, I think narcissistic parents probably produce a vast majority of kids that have ADD, absolutely, positively. Okay, time for more cheese stick. I don't know what other comments are going on. Y'all are just talking to each other. I'm feeling abandoned. I'm not really feeling abandoned. I have one more. Question, rather long question from Dan from Colombia. Dan has been sort of a fan and a friend of the show for a long time and of my practice. He is a Facebook friend of mine, and he wishes me Happy New Year. And so anyway, unless there's other if y'all have other questions, just run it on past me. Somebody, Nerlin Gurgle, something. When you protect the youngest kid and then you have anxiety, that's how I was diagnosed with an ulcer at 6. Wow. So you're the youngest, you became a depository of anxiety and you ended up with an ulcer when you were 6. Dude, Uh, Recovering soul loves cheese. This is good cheese, man. It's like string cheese. It's really good. Kids do pick up on what happens in the household. Jen says, are you taking new patients? I don't really take patients, I take clients. Because patients is sort of a medical model thing. You live in Carmel, Indiana. Yes, I do. Yes, I am taking new clients. I'm getting rather full these days, but I have room. You can text me at 317 507 8866, Jen Clark, and we can set up a meeting if you would like to. More cheese? Okay, we're gonna read Dan's longer email. If you guys, cheese is good, heebie-jeebie, telling you. I'm getting filled up. So I'm gonna read this long one from this guy who's sort of a real sweetheart. Hello, family tree. This is meant to be a letter for the live stream for the new year, so there's no rush in answering. He contacted me on the 15th day of December. Also, it doesn't need to be read all at once. I know that my summaries can turn into a State of the Union address. Yes, 317-507-8866. You can text me. Don't be texting me in the middle of the night, though, with a crisis. Not cool. Like about up to 9 o'clock would be about as late as you should text me. All right. I've been doing some reading. I've read Your Shame and Abandonment books. A shameless plug for me. I do have a book on abandonment issues, and I do have a book on shame recovery that you can get at familytree.com. I'm not reading Dan's questions to plug my books, but there I did it anyway. I've read these books twice, as well as The Journey from Abandonment to Healing by Susan Anderson, which is a great book on abandonment and better than mine, I think. It was very insightful and informative. I am now almost finished reading Healing the Shame That Binds You by the great John Bradshaw. That's a tough read. That is a very compelling book and even quite scary on the subject of there being so little true self out there in the world. I have gotten past the scary parts, so it seems. So what else is going on? I'll text Jen Clark during normal business hours tomorrow. Cool. You can text now if you want to about when you want to meet or whatever. That's fine. Or tomorrow, whatever. Because I am working right now. Okay. So I sometimes think I am a cold case, writes Dan, in that it is hard to trace the events that I do not remember. From 83 to 85, my sister and I were both adopted from Colombia during infancy, so we both have our own issues. I'll only talk about mine right now since this is my self-help deal. I've written you on numerous times before, so you already have some ideas about my childhood. Thanks all, love and healing to you and yours. Thank you, Family Tree, you rock. Well, Kathy, you rock back. From 89 to 95, Dan was diagnosed with ADD at a young age, as well as having a motor problem. He had a lot of trouble focusing and keeping up with the rest of the class. This is some of the ADD-ish stuff that we were just talking about. I used to isolate at the back of the classroom in the first and second grade. They sat me at a table and put a cardboard surrounding the front of him. This makes me sad. It makes me angry that people would treat this little first and second grader that way. The aides I was working with called it his office. Bastards. In my second grade math class, I accidentally knocked over my chair and it broke my teacher's foot. Oops. That was embarrassing, and I felt pretty guilt-stricken. I just remember feeling so bad about it. My motor skills problem became more obvious as I got older, and I became more self-conscious about it. I remember having strong feelings of inadequacy in the fourth grade. I just remember wanting to run out the exit door and get as far away as possible. My one fifth grade math teacher sent me out in the hall because I couldn't get my pencil out in time. I remember sitting out there crying. I was scolded by many of my early special aides who supposedly knew what my problem was. My treatment by my classmates was brutal as well. I was called a retard. So, Dan, I relate to your experience. My dad was in the Air Force, so I moved about every year and a half. So I was always the new kid in school, and I was very, very shy. And I believe it was the first day of the fifth grade was a time that I was pretty terrifically traumatized. I didn't drop a chair on a teacher's foot and break their foot. You know how little boys take pens apart? So like a little mechanical thing. I was just playing with the pen. I took it apart, and the spring slipped out of my fingers and whopped some girl next to me upside the head. And it was an accident. It was slippery. And she was crying, and she went and told Mrs. Sowell, red-headed older lady who drank what she called vegetable juice for lunch. And Mrs. Sowell, on the first day of the fifth grade, with me being a brand new kid, she came behind me, she grabbed me by the hair. You're going to have to imagine my hair because I ain't got none now. And she just started screeching and pulling my hair and raging because I had whopped this girl upside the head with a spring from the pen. And it was just one of the most mortifying experiences of my life. And so, Dan, you are my brother in abuse in schools and maybe not being terribly coordinated in some ways. Boy, we got 4 questions. We're going to have to start talking quickly. We've got 20 minutes left. My mom once told me she wished I was never born, Dad said. My dad made her take it back. 2002, fast forward 10 years to my second year of college, I was literally an inch from taking my life. My family never found out about it because I intervened myself. I had to get up for my first day of school the next morning. That was 14 years ago, and I haven't repeated the attempt since. I think I'm going to come back to Dan because these other questions are mounting up. Dan goes into, he talks about a time period at work. I'll read this. In his next job, I had the pleasure of dealing with 3 narcissists at the same time who sabotaged my credibility with lies and projection. Have y'all noticed that? I'm currently sort of dealing with 3 narcissists myself, and they can really make you look bad. They can be really convincing. Thank you. One was, of course, my former fiance that I'm continuing to heal and cry and grieve over. One was somebody from a couple years ago that's still reverberating, and one is a recent one that perhaps is stirring up the mix. So it's bad enough, my brothers and sisters in recovery, when you got one narcissist that is bruising you and battering you, but it really sucks when you get triple teamed. And it happens. What I've been able to do through my recovery process is recognize them sooner and get away from them sooner. And sometimes if I recognize one as a potential client, I don't take them. But anyway, I just didn't know if anybody had been triple teamed by narcissists. It really is a bad thing. Okay. Glenn Nurgle. Can you talk about aging narcissists? Does the mask start slipping more and more? Yeah, we covered this. That as people get into their mid to late 40s, early 50s, life is designed to rip down defense mechanisms. And perhaps they've run into one of us fierce individuals who fight back and expose the narcissist and don't get bullied around. And yeah, psychologically, they do get punched in the face, and more often than at a younger age when their defense mechanisms were more effective. Soren, I watched a video of yours when you discussed the difference between loneliness and being alone. Can you discuss the distinction a little more? Yeah, great question, Soren. Loneliness, I think, is when you feel empty and you feel bored and you generally engage in some kind of addictive behavior because it's really painful. Let's see. Happy Gilmore says narcissistic abuse and loneliness is a bad combination. Yep. But what I have worked on myself and what I've worked on with a lot of I just left a room full of men in my men's recovery group, and I got a couple of guys in there who spent some time being separated, and they're learning how to love themselves, and they're learning how to take good care of themselves. And they're learning how to do fun, new things, and they're not lonely at all. They are loving being alone. And this one fellow just has great enthusiasm for dressing well and cooking new things, and he's way happier as a single guy than he ever was as a married guy. But if you haven't healed the wounds of your childhood and you don't love yourself very much, you're going to be awfully lonely. Okay, so Bittersweet says they ruin your life and they try to make you feel like you ruined their life. Bittersweet. Bittersweet, what I would say is somewhat controversial, and that is nobody really has the power to ruin our lives. Whenever I feel victimized or like somebody's ruined my life, I go look in a mirror and I have a meeting with that guy. And I talk to that guy and I say, how did you let this dangerous person close enough to hurt you? because if they hurt me, it's because I let them get close enough to do it. So they don't have the power to ruin our lives. We give them the power to ruin our lives. And yes, they'll turn around and say we ruined their lives. That's true. Okay, last bit of cheese. Jen Clark. Yes, the smear campaign. They try to ruin your career. I know a little something about that. I've been on the end of a little bit of smear campaigning. And the thing is whenever somebody is having a smear campaign about me, it doesn't bother me in the least bit, and I go home and sleep like a baby because I know who I am. And narcissists can poison the well, they can say bad things, but I can't control that. All I can do is be ethical, be joyful, care about people, and be prepared to protect myself in a dangerous world should the need arise. Sideways, this sideways highways. Do you have a list of other YouTubers or outlets that have videos on the subject of codependency? Well, for male codependents, the No More Mr. Nice Guy, the classic book on codependency for females is, of course, Codependent No More by Melody Beatty. Those are two. Honestly, I'm not up on YouTubers on the subject of codependency. I got to tell you, this is terrible. Throughout the years, I think I've only made one video about codependency. And I know I sort of suck for that because I just didn't think it was a very sexy topic. It just, it was sort of like the oatmeal, the bread and butter. And I should have made more, and I need to fix that. So, Heebie-Jeezy says, they are ruthless, Mark. Yes, I have been triple teamed, called my family. It's a good thing we can see them a mile away once you know their behaviors and their games. So that's a good point. Heebie-Jeeby is the wiser you get and the more you love yourself and the more careful you are without being paranoid, you can see trouble coming. My problem is I step in it and then end up paying the price a year and a half, 2 years later. Sometimes it takes a while for the shit to hit the fan. But I believe in the power of recovery. I believe in the power of YouTube. I believe in the power of faith. I believe in the power of God. Gamma Ray. What a cool name that is. Why do I feel one friend makes me feel I'm so weird and abominable when I know in reality she doesn't feel this way about me? Is it effects of narcissism? What do I do about it? I don't know, Gamma Ray, if that has anything to do with narcissism at all. I would sit your friend down and I would say, dude, I have these feelings when I'm around you. What comes off of you is I feel weird and I feel abominable. And just process. She's probably doing some subtle things that are sort of, pardon my language, mind fucking you a bit. And I don't think you're having these weird, abominable feelings from out of the blue. There's probably some subtle business going on, so try to figure out what it is. Next is unfinished. I have unfinished business with unfinished business. Is it more likely for me to have chosen a narcissistic partner or for me to be a narcissist if I have a narcissist mom? That's a brilliant question. Unfinished business. I can speak, from my family of origin. I had a real abandoning, almost autistic father and a borderline mother, with some pretty strong narcissistic traits. And I think that most of the 6 kids grew up with some narcissistic traits, including myself. Doesn't mean I'm a narcissist. I'm not saying I'm like Sam Vacton. I just got a few of the traits, and it's not a moral choice. If you grew up in my family, you'd have a few traits of narcissism as well. It was a way of surviving. That's what it was. It was a way for me to survive and cope. But I would say if you grew up with a narcissistic mom, your chances of picking a narcissistic partner about 98%, which really sucks. So you might end up being a full-blown narcissist from this, but you might walk away with just some narcissistic tendencies. But if you're wounded by a narcissist, you're probably going to start falling in love. I'm meeting with the fella today from Maryland, and he had dated 3 borderline women before he married the 4th. And I said, yep, I know a little bit about that. And I've been cured from that. Okay. So, I'll move down a little bit here. Haven't kept up. Thanks for sharing, Mark. It was a way to survive, absolutely. I love how you guys are talking to each other. I'm going to go back to Dan's story. And if y'all have Lisa or Romano is good on codependency. So there you go. That's a good feedback from Clock 99 times. Okay. 2005 to 2008, one habit in the interval was an addiction Dan developed in strip clubbing. I didn't have any luck with females in grade school. They made me feel ugly. I had also taken some interest in males, but that would come up later. I became infatuated with one of the dancers, and I wanted to seduce her into falling in love with me. Yes, it was a desperate cry, and of course I was rejected. It was difficult because I liked her. There was another one who was much better than me. Even if it was just an act, it was a damn good one. She was very sweet to me, and she was fun to spend time with. I do sometimes wonder what happened to her. After a while, the club started to wear on me. I became depressed and I gave it up. So here's the thing. Do I do Skype canceling? Yes, I do. So I'd be glad we do that, and it works exceptionally well. It's just like you're right. I've got this like big screen TV. Where I do the Skyping on, it's like people are just right there. It's so clear. I go from Kiev to Brussels, Belgium, to the UK, to North Carolina. It's pretty cool. So, what's sad about us needy people is we don't know what love is. And Dan, his wounded little boy, um, was he probably had he had false love from his mom, and then he had false love from the stripper, and it's sad. And I had false love in my relationship with my fiance. Fast forward 8 years, 2014, after visiting dating sites like eHarmony and Mate One with no results, I tapped into my sheltered homosexual curiosity, went on Match.com for a gander. He was looking for a gander. I love that. A gander for gay men. It took a few months, but I found a guy. At the time, I was in between jobs, so I had a lot of time on my hands. He and I started texting. Things got progressively steamy. It was a unique time in my life where I felt like I was connecting with somebody. There may have been a shred of doubt that would last, but I was trying to stay optimistic. Where are we at here? We set up a date and we met close to me at Red Robin. I started to get very excited and nervous about it. It was my first time going on a date in 9 years. The day came, I showered, shaved, and I put gel on my hair. So Dan was getting cleaned up, put some gel in his hair, dressed casually, sharp. Eventually the time came. He was nice. I was hoping to see him again, but he ended up getting back with his ex. I was devastated and hysterical. I kept texting and calling him to respond, but got no answer. After the third day, I called him, and he responded angrily that I had been so persistent and had been harassing him. He said we couldn't be friends anymore, so I did a ton of grieving. So Dan, yeah, that was you're being super duper needy, and it was sort of stalkerish, and it was violating boundaries, and it was too needy. And so, but it comes from your wounded, needy little boy. You're just voraciously needy. 2015, the following summer, I met a guy on Match. By the way, folks, stay off of dating sites. Match.com, I call it psychopath.com. Sam Vaktin says the percentage of cluster B could be as high as 75%. You are putting yourself in grave danger, whether it's Plenty of Fish or eHarmony, they're filled with predators. Why don't you date a friend of a friend that somebody can vouch for, or date somebody from your real life? But you are taking a tremendous risk by getting on dating sites. I met a guy on Match. I ended up meeting at his apartment, spent the night. I was just too desperate to pass it up. I had never had such an intimate encounter. Of course, the same thing happened as the year before, only this time I got super reactive after not hearing back from him, so I went ballistic and called him a hopeless romantic. A fella could be called worse than a hopeless romantic. He called me and he told me his childhood was screwed up, but I wasn't going to validate him. I was too upset. A couple months later is when I found family tree counseling during a search on YouTube for the fear of abandonment. Granted, I did continue online dating, just not on Match. I met a few guys on OkCupid, and they have been better company. Ironically, one is dealing with narcissistic abuse syndrome. I'm trying to find him some help and having him read my books. And he's been reaching out to get help on Facebook. Hopefully he finds what he needs. I hope he gets some family tree support. So this is what Dan says. He said, if we both keep up on our work, maybe someday we'll be fit to date for real sometime. Let me read that again. If we both keep up on our recovery work, maybe someday we'll be fit to actually date for real someday. And that's a beautiful thing. Um, and that's really the key to having a healthy relationship, is becoming healthy yourself. And just keep working on your issues and get healthier, and stay off of dating sites and learn how to love yourself. Thanks for reading this lengthy timeline of a story. Everyone have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So that's from Dan. It's 10 o'clock, I'm told. Do I take Aetna insurance? I don't take insurance directly. I can give you a super bill, and you can see if you can work out the payments with your insurance company directly. Not all of us are created equally. We primitive folk, we people who are so deeply needy, we're going to attract cluster B people because we have such severe abandonment issues. So be very careful in love and dating, and build a strong recovery built on healing your previous PTSD, falling in love with yourself, and having healthy boundaries. Click stop streaming. There it is. So, folks, I hope this has been helpful tonight. I enjoyed myself. I had some good cheese. I hope that somebody got something out of this. I'm sorry we didn't have some of the stars of the show on. It might be me and Karen Smith for a little while. But thank you for watching tonight, and God bless.